Hi, this is A. Muslim. That ain't tells it like a T out here. If you like my video, please give a thumbs up and consider subscribing. The topic I'm going to talk to you today about is the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 4 and 5. Episode 4 is called The Vote. It started off with no, it started off with let me get my little notes. Oh yeah, it started off with Brit and Angela going jogging with Angela's dog, and they got to talking. And Britt was telling Angela that she was glad and happy that she called her and asked her to come jog with her because she wants to get to know her better. And Angela said same for her. She wants to get to know Britt better. And she was saying, yeah, it's all about family. It's all about family for me. And that's what Angela was saying. And she was saying, yeah, I get along pretty much with everybody in my family. She said, uh, she said, I get along with some of the people in Charles' family and stuff like that. He said, and some people in my family don't get along with Charles. And she was saying, yeah, it's about family for me. And she got to tell him about about how her daddy passed away and how things are going on, how her relationship with her sisters kind of fizzled out and stuff, after her father passed and stuff like that. And she was saying, yeah, I really wanted to get to know her. She said, yeah. And she said, yeah, last night. What happened last night? She said, yeah. Kenya didn't answer my question, and Kenya didn't answer my question, and I didn't know what was going on. And to me, I thought that was big disrespectful. But all the other girls in the group, they kind of took Kenya's side and didn't support me. And to me, I didn't like that. She said, "Did you think the same way, uh, uh, Angela?" And Angela said, "Well, yeah." A little bit, but she said you did. But she said, Britt, you did try to keep on pushing her answer, keep on pushing the question. She said what was a little weird, a little off to me. So it switched to the next scene, and the next scene was I think the next scene was chaos. Was chaos showing up at Kenya's spot place. And Carol said that she was happy that Kenya decided to invite her to the spark place, and she was telling Kenya how pretty and beautiful and stuff and look, it was gorgeous and everything. And so they got to sit down, and she was saying, "Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of scared. I put $4,000 uh, up into this business, and I did a lot of hard work. I put a lot of hard work and effort in this business. And I want everything to go right. I want everything to go right. I'm a little nervous." That's what Kenny was saying. And she said, "Kel, how did you get your business up and running?" Kel said, "Well, it was mostly word of mouth. Word of mouth." Said, "Yeah, word of mouth." She said, "Yeah, Kenya, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine." And Kenya said, "Well, that's why I said I was kind of going to be a little bit nervous about it. I want for sure. I want for sure." And stuff like that. And then, uh, and then it's with, let me get some water right quick. I get a little water. And then I switch to the next scene. The next scene was Shamia and her sister at the pool. And Shamia was telling her sister about all the stuff that she had been going through, with the baby, with her two kids being sick and all that stuff. And she was saying that Gerald want them to expand their family. And she said she wants to expand her family too. But she said all the stuff that went on with the first surrogate, by the first surrogate having cancer and then having Shiloh too. She was saying she was kind of scared and she didn't know what was going on. So she had to really find out what's going to really happen with this surrogate, especially this new surrogate. And she said she's going to stop by and see the new surrogate and stuff like that. And Juicy said, I know, I understand. You've been going through a lot. You've been going through a lot. And she said, sometimes that can take a toll on you and stuff like that. She said, but you've been up there, but you've been holding your own. And she said, yeah, but it's been kind of hard. It's been kind of hard. And so it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was Drew and Ralph playing with the kids in the yard. And then one of Drew kids, I think with a little daughter, said, I want to go inside. I want to go inside. And she said, yeah, y'all go inside. Y'all go inside so I could talk to your daddy. And so while it was outside, Drew was saying, well, we got to go to court and stuff like that. And she was saying, well, she was saying, Ralph, you gotta pay for the exterminator. He done my for the exterminator. No, she said, yeah, because after I went through my court documents and stuff, they said you supposed to pay for the exterminator. Well, I'm paying for everything in the house anyway. I'm paying for everything. Why should I have to pay for the exterminator? And we supposed to be doing this 50. She said, no, I don't think so. She said, because I'm finna get ready to leave because it's your weekend to see the kids. So I just wanted to have the place exterminated and stuff was nice for the kids. And then and then Drew said in her confession, she said she don't know what's going on with Ralph and his lawyers and what kind of stuff they up to and stuff like that. She said just like her lawyer said, Ralph is still not giving his financial stuff, and she was saying that the judge talking about that maybe they shouldn't be discussing their divorce around the kids, because that might affect the kids. And she said she agreed with that, but Ralph is the one that want to have the records and all that stuff open, and then Ralph had his own little confession. I don't know why they keep giving him confession. But anyway, he was talking about, yeah, you don't know. She talking about she's supposed to, he's talking about he already paying for everything. She could at least pay for the extermination, That probably ain't no more than $100. I said, you must ain't never had your house exterminated before. $100, them exterminators don't cost no $100. Them exterminators be trying to charge $200 or $300 for stuff. But anyway, he talking about stuff should be shared with 50-50 with him, and he's just so glad that he's able to stay in the basement. And I'm looking at you talking about you pay for everything. You ain't telling nobody what your job is. You don't want to give the financials to Drew and the judge. So it makes me think you ain't got no job. It makes me think you just holding out to keep on spending Drew's money. I hope that ain't true. And then it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was Britt Eddie having lunch with her sister, and she told her sister that she wanted to help her. She wanted to talk out of issues with her sister and stuff like that. What was going on? And she was saying, yeah. And she was saying, yeah. It was like Cheryl was telling Britt. She said, yeah. It seemed like after our father died, you kind of distanced yourself, and then you got married. You distanced yourself from the family. You didn't call me. You didn't call your other sister. You didn't talk to nobody. She said, well, I did talk to mom for a little bit. She said, but it wasn't that much. She said, we was real close. We were so close. And I don't know why you did that. And she was saying, Cheryl, I thought you didn't like my husband. I thought you didn't like Mike. And she said, no, it's not that I didn't like Mike. It's like that every time I came around, Mike had to be right behind you and right behind us following you. That's what I didn't like. And then she was saying, well, Mike is my husband. Cheryl, Mike is my husband. And, he going to be around. You're just going to have to learn to accept that. If you can't learn to accept that, then I don't know about, she said, it's not that I can't accept it, just that I don't like him following us around, all around town. We trying to talk, get ourselves together. She said, can you accept that, Cheryl? Cheryl said, well, okay. She said, but one thing about it, I want you to keep in contact with, start calling me back, start calling your other sister back, keep in touch with us and let us know what's going on. And then it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was Angela going to the bank vault, the bank vault. And so she said, ooh, she was telling her party plan, she said, ooh, everything looks good, everything looks good. And they were saying, yeah, everything do look good. And so the people started coming in. I think Shamia was the first one came in. And then after that, it was Portia. And then it was Drew. And then next thing you know, here come Kenya being the last one. Everybody looking at, wait a minute. We thought the dress code was all black. Why Kenya wearing green? So Kenya hugged everybody. She hugged everybody. She sat down, stuff like that. And so and they said, Kenya, why you wearing that green dress? Everything was supposed to be black. Everything was supposed to be black. And so everybody was looking. And then after that, Britt Eddie came in, and then everybody sat down. And then Senior came around the table. She got to hugging everybody, talking to everybody. And then she hugged Britt. And Britt said, that's not really a hug. That's kind of more like a pat. She said, "Well, I don't want to get no, I don't want to get no lipstick. I don't want to get no lipstick on your clothes. So that's why I did like that. We did like that." And she said, "Oh, okay." And then the owl sat down and they said, "Kenya, yeah, you got that little short dress on your breath. I ain't got no, and I'm looking at girl. I'll get back to that point." And so they all sat down and Angela said a little speech and she said, "Yeah, I just want y'all to come. I just want us to bring us together, and we can all talk and have fun, and try to get to know each other, and try to have fun tonight, and not have all that other stuff going on, the drama stuff." And so she said, "We're gonna play a game, and what is it's a game, and I want y'all to read some questions out, and I want each lady to answer a question." And so she said, "I'll go first." And so she went first, and she said, "Shamia, uh, what did you do for your husband for him to give you that Rolls Royce?" Shamia looked at everybody and she was sitting down. She was looking at her tongue and putting her mouth all back and stuff. Then she got out of seat and started twerking all that stuff. And I was saying, "Shamia, you ain't got to do all that. All you had to do was say, well, that's personal between me and my husband and stuff like that." But she was letting people know that she was doing that stuff to her husband that Britt Eddie was doing in episode 5. But anyway, it got to the next question, and they passed out the question around, and Britt said, "Well, I'll be next." And then she answered a question, and she said, "Kenya, why you treat all of the other ladies in the group good except for Britt Eddie?" And then so somebody said, and then Portia looked kind of funny. Shamir said, "Hmm." And then somebody, I think it was Cynthia, no, it was Kelli. And somebody said, "Who wrote that question?" I think Kelli said, "I did." And then so, and then so, and then so she said, "Well, I treat everybody in the group fairly. I'm nice to everybody. I treat everybody right." And then so Brittany said, "You didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question." She said, and then Kenny got quiet. And she said, "Kenny, you still didn't answer my question." And then Portia said, Britt, when uh when Kenya disengaged like that, that means that the conversation is over. And Britt said, "Huh, the conversation over." She said, "But she never answered my question. That's not right. She disrespected me." And she disrespected me. And then Tamia said, "Ooh, I didn't come here for this. I'm finna leave because this finna go somewhere." And then so she was the first one to get up. And then Andrew said, "Shamia, come back here." Shamia left me. Next thing you know, uh, uh, Kelly said, "Yeah, I'm going to get ready to leave too." And Portia said, "Yeah, this is going to go all the way left." And I wasn't here for that either. So everybody got jumped up leaving. And so Britt Eddie was still walking and she was in the hallway. And then she went over there by the red carpet area. And then Kenya was over there with Portia. She said, "Yeah, we finna go." She said, "Yeah, Portia, yeah, I'm finna go too." And then Kenya said, come on, Drew, let's go." And Drew said, "Well, wait a minute. I'm trying to see where I can put this box. This box is very heavy." She said, come on here." So she came on over there, and then Britta was still hooping and hollering, yelling, talking about, "Yeah, she disrespected me. She disrespected me. Where's my husband? Where's my husband? Let me call my husband." So she got her over there and calling her husband, telling her husband what was going on. She said, "Yeah, that kid, she don't know what she's messing with. She don't know what she's messing with. That's why I have pistols and whips for bees like her, for bees like her." And so and so Kenya jumped in the car with Portia and Drew, and they drove out. And she said, Kenya said, "Portia, did you hear that?" Portia said, "What?" "Britt Eddie just threatened me." And then so Portia said, "For real? Did she threaten you?" She say that? She said, "I know what I heard. I know what I heard, Portia. She threatened me. She threatened me." Did she threaten me, Drew? Drew said, I don't know. I know I heard her hooping and hollering talking about somebody, but I didn't know she was talking about you, Kenya. I thought she was just talking about somebody else." And then the episode went out. That was 4. I'm gonna do 5 in the future. Okay, episode 5 is called About Last Night. It started off with Shamia at her house, uh, preparing, getting ready. Next thing you know, doorbell ring. She opened the door. It was Angela Oakley, and then her and Angela got to talking. They sit down and said, "Ooh, it was something else going on last night. I said, yeah, what happened? What happened? She said, yeah, the stuff just went just a simple way. And I wasn't expecting that to happen at my event. This is what Angela was saying. And Shamia said, I wasn't expecting that either. She said, Shamia said, Brit, to me, Brit was a little bit overboard. She was a little bit overboard with Kenya and stuff like that. And she was saying, yeah, I know it. Then next thing you know, doorbell rang again. And it was Brit in it. She came in and said, oh, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? I got with each other, heard me just sitting down talking. Next thing you know, she said, about last night, she said, yeah, last night was something else. And she was saying, yeah, it started out good, but I didn't think my stuff was gonna go like that. And then, and then, and then, Shamia said, Britt, uh, you kind of started it all out. She said, to me, to me, you was going a little bit overboard with Kenya, overboard with Kenya. She said, nah, Kenya was the one acting all weird, me having all that weird energy with me. I just asked her a question, and I wanted to answer the question. And she said she didn't answer the question. She said, but Britt, you threatened Kenya. She said, huh? Threatened Kenya? She said, oh, well, I'm sorry for what I said, but I was drunk and I was upset and stuff like that. And because Kenya said you said something about pistols and whip. She said, yeah, like I said, I'm sorry, and I will apologize for that. I will apologize for that and stuff like that. She said, well, maybe you need to apologize to Kenya, and maybe you need to tell Kenya that you really didn't mean what you were saying. And she was saying, cause Kenya think that you was trying to harm her. I said, no, I would never think about harming nobody. I would never think about harming anybody. And then so, and then so, Shamina said, yeah, that's why I say you need to go ahead on and try to do the best that you can as far as stuff with Kenyon. And she said, Shamia, you don't think that Kenyon was disrespectful to me for not answering the question and talking out weird stuff to me? She said, nah, especially since you threatened that thing. And she said, Angela, what about you? And stuff like that. And Shamia said, Angela, do you think that Kenya was being disrespectful? And Angela said, well, yeah, kind of. And kind of, she said, yeah, I do think like that. And then it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was Portia going to the spa with Kelli and stuff. And her and Kelli, they was there and what's called pick out some models. They was helping they was helping Kenya pick out some models, and Kenya asked one model. She said, "Well, could you could you walk the runway? Could you walk a little bit better than that?" She did. Can you say Kenya Moore hair care? And the girl said, Kenya Moore hair care. She said, "Oh, okay." So when they got through talking, they were saying, "Yeah, last night was something else." And Portia said, "Yeah, it went left real quick." And Kel said, yeah. Kel said, yeah, it sure did, it sure did. And Kenya said, yeah, because Britt had threatened me. Britt had threatened me. And then Portia said, well, I didn't hear Britt. I didn't hear that. That's why I said, did she really have it? She said, Portia, I know what I heard. I know what I heard. And then so Portia said, well, Kenyon, what you need to do, you need to talk to all the rest of the girls, see anybody else here, because I know I didn't hear it. And then, and then, Portia said, Kelli, did you hear? Kelli said, I don't remember hearing. I don't think I heard that either. And I don't think Brittany really say anything like that and stuff like that. And then Kelly say, like I said, I heard what I heard. Because Britt is your friend, you don't think she would do that. Do you think I would just sit up there and say something about a person that I don't even know? I don't even know Britt like that. And she said, I wouldn't think of nothing like that. And she said, well, I'm not just saying that. And then Kenny got mad and said, I ain't talking about that. I ain't talking about that money. I'm going to twirl on my haters. I'm going to twirl on my haters and do background check. And then in the confession, Kelly said, twirl on your haters. You need to do background check on your stuff to make sure they won't be doing this stuff, writing stuff like that. Next thing you know, it switched to the next scene. And the next scene was, let me pause this for a minute because I don't want this video to be too long. Angela was telling Charles that Portia had said something about her, And he said, don't be saying that about him. And she said that she told Charles that Portia was joking and she wanted Charles to come to the hair spa opening with her. He told her, why would you need to come to the hair spa opening? His hair is already fixed. He said, you should come to support me. And he said, well, now you can go by yourself. And then it switched to the next scene. The next scene was the day of the opening. Everybody was there. They showed Kenya arriving, everybody arriving, showed Miss Lawrence and everybody. Then they showed Kenya having the models walk down there. Kenya asked, did they want to which one the best dressed? And Kenya put the one the lady that had the big crown on her head said best dressed. Next thing you know, Brick Eddie and Kels walked in, and Kenya looked across the room with her head down. She looked up and then so Kel talked to I think it's Usher, the security guard. She was giving the flowers and the cord, and she said, "I don't want that. Throw that away. Throw it away. I don't want that. Give that to a homeless person or something." She's talking about the pretty flowers that she get. And Kel said, "Well, can you? What about the card? You want to keep the card?" She said, "I don't want to keep nothing. Just throw it away. Just throw it away." And then after that, she said, security, make sure that everybody that's in this building have a pink band on their head. If they don't have a pink band on their head, they could got it. And then Bush said, "Oh, okay, I'm walking out." Just as Britt was walking out, Kenya gonna say, "I'm gonna twirl on my haters. I'm gonna twirl on my haters." And then she said, "I'm gonna blow them dust." And then she put her hand up to her hand and blow some dust out of her mouth or whatever. Like she was blowing dust and she busted out her mouth. And she done, I'm that person. I'm the B word. I'm the B word. I've been the B word. Gonna always be the B word and stuff like that. Who is this blank? And then say, her name is Britt Eddie. Britt Eddie. And she started throwing up poster boards and stuff. And then everybody started looking at the Kel say, I'm not participating in that. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. And then everybody started leaving. And then so Bush said, I'm tired. Cut these cameras off. Cut these cameras off. And then Cynthia said, I'm gonna say this one last thing, Kenyon. I thought you were better than this. You could have handled this a better way. You could have did a better way than this. I thought you was better than this. I thought you were bigger than this. And then the show went out. And I agree with Kenyon. But this all the commentary I have. But Kenyon was in the wrong on all fronts, at least on episode 5, because the whole episode was wild up. That's all I have for this video. This is A. Wesley. That ain't even tells it like a TI is. I am out.